East End neighborhood revitalization plan, which was approved by the town in the 90s, was a much smaller boundary than what we're calling the East End area today. It was mostly what's described as the Hill, and it focused a lot on housing preservation, rightly so. But we decided to expand those boundaries for the East End. And probably at the end of the day, we're going to call this plan something completely different. We also have the East End Neighborhood Association, and so it's a little confusing. But for now, we're going to call it the East End Plan. It's a larger geographic boundary, which roughly is Aurora Street to the west, 50 to the east, roughly Idlewild to the south, and North Street to the north. But the specific area of focus, actually there's two areas. One is the Dover Road corridor, and the other one is those properties adjacent to the routes to trails that are industrial properties that are there that were once associated with the railroad. And so that's really our primary areas of focus. So we've expanded it to be able to discuss how we can create a vibrant Dover Road corridor, an inviting corridor, one that is the gateway into downtown Easton, so that we can have businesses establish themselves there and thrive. But what type of businesses and how it looks, those are two things we're going to have to discuss. How does it differentiates itself from downtown Easton? Are they more local serving businesses? Do we focus on businesses that are entrepreneurial and innovative? Are they small businesses? Is it focused on retail or food and beverage or entertainment or all of them? What do we do with the infrastructure to make sure that we have all the elements that make business districts be successful? So that's one area we want to focus in on. The other area, with those industrial properties adjacent to routes to trails, we know that potentially there are redevelopment opportunities there. But redevelop into what? Can we redevelop into more housing? And if so, at what densities and at what scale? And how can it be compatible with what's already there? But the more housing that we can get in that area, the more potential we could have for more affordable homes for our larger workforce, and the more people we have in those residences that can take their feet and go to the Dover Road corridor and shop and support those businesses. So those are two big objectives, I think, for this East End area plan. But as we go through the planning process, we're bound to hear other ideas from neighborhood residents and from residents in Easton, and we will continue to update and refine those two objectives as we move forward. It'll be a small area plan, so it will be a document that we hope will be evaluated by the Planning Commission and eventually adopted by the Town Council, with a number of very specific strategies that are achievable for us to meet whatever vision comes out of this plan. They have to be strategies that can actually be implemented. But the beauty of doing a community process like this is hopefully at the end of the day, when the plan is adopted, it is embraced by the community and especially the neighborhood. And with that, I think comes continued enthusiasm and pressure to continue to move forward and apply those strategies. The plan will also identify potential funding sources for some of the things that we want to do. Hopefully there'll be some low-hanging fruit there, though, so that we can do much more quickly than some of the other things, which will take, inevitably will take new policies and new zoning regulations to do. Certainly improvements in terms of sidewalk connections, sidewalk improvements, crosswalk improvements, public art, certainly could be a low-hanging fruit. Things that we can do to improve the aesthetics of the Dover Road corridor, for example. I'm hoping that we can have a discussion on how to reimagine what I'm right now calling Depot Park, which is where the train depot is. I think it's a really underutilized space for civic uses. And so how can we reimagine that, and whatever that outcome is, how can we then cost out the capital cost to actually implement the re-envisioning of that park. And so to me, that's actually a low-hanging fruit. You need a strong civic space to anchor that corridor, and that is a perfect spot to do it. Signage for the Dover Road corridor, which will be part of what we hope to be as a branding strategy that is actually in the plan. Those are low-hanging fruit. Now granted, it does take money still, and it does have to be budgeted, but I think there are some things that we can do that won't cost as much as some of the other things that'll probably be in the plan. I think in this process and with the public, we can also have fun with these challenges and with these ideas, because the Dover Road corridor is also in our arts and entertainment district. So how can we use the East End neighborhood to leverage that district? So having safer crosswalks, but incorporating art into the crosswalks, for example. Maybe we have street furniture, if we can find the space to do it, that is a little bit more eccentric, perhaps. If we have one area, in my personal opinion, where we can be a little bit more funky and artsy and innovative, I think it's that district. Now that separates it apart from downtown, which is very traditional and very beautiful. But you can look at the East End neighborhood now, especially on Dover Road corridor, and you can see the diversity in the businesses that are there. It's just a little bit more funky. So I think we can build off of that and figure out what can we do creative to be able to address some of these issues. The kickoff event that we're going to have for this plan is Thursday, October 5th at the Armory. It's free and open to the public for all ages. I'm really excited about this because I didn't want this to be like a heavy planning event. I wanted this to be a little more fun and lighthearted, but still a learning experience and a chance for the community to get together and create a vision together about the East End neighborhood. But after that kickoff, we will have some other activities for the next few months. We will have hopefully a couple smart growth lectures with the public that can attend. One of them will definitely be on housing and affordable housing. I'm hoping to have another smart growth lecture on economic development and retail. And we'll do some walk-arounds in the neighborhood where the public's invited to walk around, and we'll have what we hope to have is sketchers to be able to sketch out some of the ideas that the citizens come up with. We are doing interviews with some key stakeholders, primarily property owners, commercial property owners in the district, but others as well that are just as important. We'll be doing one-on-one interviews with them. We'll be doing an existing conditions report. All this information will be summarized and posted on our project website. This will all culminate in early February, we hope early February, 4-day design charrette. Now, design charrette, they're consecutive days. We'll have a kickoff meeting. We're going to present everything we've learned from all those activities. We're going to have breakouts. We're going to have open house where people can drop in and see the progress we're making. That is intended by the end of that charrette. What we hope to have is a sketch of illustratives and a sketch of what this East End small area plan will look like. And we'll then take all that feedback from the public when we present that final sketch and refine it and maybe test it, especially on the transportation side, and then finalize it and then present it to the Planning Commission.